Hello and welcome back for the 15th show of Look Digital Puppets with us, your host and fellow animators, Scott and Anthony, live once again from our cartoon studio here in the UK, where every week we are here to discuss animating. Anyway, we are live so that we and... Oh, you know, I can't even read my own script here.
I told you, forget to leave the scripts.
We missed a week. We missed last week, and now I'm totally out of whack with the whole, you know, setup. Anyway, so you know what? I'm not even going to look at the script. Basically, we missed last week because we've been really busy setting up two new animation shows, two live shows that we're going to be streaming really soon. We'll tell you more about that later on in the show. But first, we're going to speak with our guest tonight. And you know what? I'm actually going to look at my script for this bit because I need to. Right, okay. So yeah, we're shifting gear a little. And instead of live 2D animation, we're going to be talking to a person who's been working closely with 3D motion capture technology. Now that person is Mr. James Martin, who's been working in animation since 1999. And since then, he's worked as an art director, become the first certified trainer in iClone animation, and he has worked with motion capture on the upcoming Keanu Reeves movie Replicas. Currently, Mr. Martin can be found at Georgia State University, where he's teaching students how to use the latest mocap technology. Now, as you can see and as you all know, I'm a 2D guy, always have been and most likely always will be. But Anthony here, he's a 3D guy, quite literally, just look at him, he's 3D. So tonight, Anthony is going to be taking the lead on this interview to find out all about Mr. James Martin's career in 3D real-time animation. And as I said, after the interview, stay with us as we're going to have a more stripped-back show tonight. We're going to drop cartoon time, school time, and all the times that we usually do. And we're going to have a conversation with you, the audience. So it might be quick or we might be chatting for ages. It all depends on what questions you throw at us. So anyway, let's get started with our interview. So, Anthony, can you please welcome Mr. James Martin to the show, please?
Here we go. Hello James. Oh, wait, he needs audio.
Oh.
Hello, James.
How's it going? Audio is key in animation.
Right,
yeah, it kind of helps.
Thanks for having me.
We're really interested. We're really looking forward to this chat as live 3D animation is an area that we really are interested in getting into because to date we've been really just working with 2D live animation. Before we start quizzing you on the whole 3D motion capture, we're always keen to discover how our guests actually first got into animation. What was it that made you want to get into animation?
It's a combination. Probably Spider-Man comic books and a big brother with an affinity for gaming. We came up in a time when computing was in its infancy and green screen was the law of the land. And I had an older brother that liked to take things apart and then put them back together and see if they would work again. And that led him into web design, me into graphic design. And from there, we found a company called Reallusion, or maybe they found us. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. And they had a real-time 2D engine called Crazy Talk that led us down a path of animation and pixels that is stuff of legend.
So you was working with... Oh, sorry. You carry on. I did say you was going to lead this week.
Okay, I was going to say that kind of leads us into our first question. What animation did you start working off with? With? So I guess you say it was like Crazy Talk and Reallusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Crazy Talk was the flagship product and to date still is for Reallusion, basically allowing users to take any image and turn that into a talking avatar, whether that be photoreal or maybe animal or, of course, cartoon or illustrated as well. So this allowed users to really have a low entry point that didn't require basically any previous fundamental animation knowledge to quickly generate one of the things that's been a bit of a bane of our industry, right, which was facial animation. So they generated an algorithm that did Viceme scheduling for the timeline. So it's a speak to animate algorithm that's still in play across their product line today.
That's like I said, I've had a look at Crazy Talk, but I think it worked in a similar sort of way to Character Animator. Basic same thing, 2D animation that you can rig up with bones, and and it's got the automated lip sync and stuff as well. And it just kind of like you say, speeds up production, makes you can get something straight away and actually start making some content with it.
Right, and Reallusion being basically a real-time animation production engine company, that is something that users can simply animate and then hit play and review their animation. So this concept is something that stretches out further into our entire product line and allows us to basically quickly work with users and producers, directors, and really anybody that has creative feedback that they choose to give. And then instantly the animator can make that change. So this is definitely opened some doors and some collaborative areas that most creatives don't see the light of day because they're too busy keyframing and things like that.
I was gonna say that's I think a lot of animators out there watching. I think a lot of animators that'll know that whole you've spent days, weeks, or however long making something, and then someone comes along and goes, "Oh, can you just change that?"
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. I love that word, just. It's the whole domino effect that comes with it, ain't it?
Yeah. Oh, why don't we just put a hat on him or something? It's like, okay.
Yeah. Can you just add a cat? Can somebody just throw a cat in there somewhere? Sure. Or, I would really like it if that person was a completely different avatar altogether.
Yes, I've had that.
I seriously think a lot of customers think that animation is just magic. It's just magic where you can just make it happen like Harry Potter.
We always joked around about making them just make my movie button. So you just hit it and all of a sudden magically you're an animator, right? If we could just get there, I think the company would be wildly successful.
So
mind you, the likes of sorry. You know what, Ant? I'm just gonna I did say that you was gonna lead the interview this week. Because usually it's me that's asking all the questions, but I'm going to let Anthony do it. I'm not going to interrupt. So go on, you go ahead.
Well, Joe, Scott, you feel free because the reason that Scott normally leads the questions is because while he's chatting away, I'm running the broadcast side of things. So
sure.
Yeah, Scott, you carry on because I'm doing some other stuff.
Oh well, I'm just going to ask you the question: is the thing actually live? Because I'm looking at my iPad over here, and I don't know if it's the iPad or the feed. So you go and have a look at that, and I'll carry on with asking the questions.
Yeah, no, it's all running live. That's what I'm...
Okay. Right, okay, so you started off... you got into Crazy Talk, which is still going strong, I see. Obviously, when I first come across 2D live animation, I just so happened to come across Character Animator, and that's the one that I went with. So I've never really looked much... that's the one that I feel my hat in with. It's a whole kind of PC, Mac. Some people go with one software, some people go with the other software. But obviously now you're working a lot with 3D mocap. So how did you go from working in the 2D to moving across to 3D?
Well, traditionally, I come from a place of fine art first. So once upon a time, I was an airbrush artist. I've always been a frustrated comic book artist. So my art first existed in 2D, and really I jumped to 3D when I started dabbling in maquette sculpting. And so again, very much a physically hands-on methodology of production art, and creating maquettes for a 2D production. And essentially, when I did that, I was asked from our developers in Taiwan to share some images of these maquettes that I had actually sculpted for our 2D production. And really, this was just kind of concept art to shop around to show that we had, 3D versions of these conceptualized. And so I sent pictures over, and they sent me back my actual maquette in 3D, already animated and talking. And so this was all the way back, I want to say in 2004 or 5. So that was when I first was like, wait a second, you guys have completely changed the game up for me now, because you just basically made a fully speaking rigged, facially animated model of my stuff from a photograph. And this was at a point when I was working in South Florida as an art director at a print firm. And I literally put in my 2 weeks notice at that point and said, this software will change things in the way that we animate in 3D at some point. And now iClone is in version 7. That was its alpha. So it's grown leaps and bounds. And in the last 5 years, the industry has really changed. And there's been a kind of a uniform democratization that has occurred. And we see that in gaming, with engines like Unity and Unreal being free for developers to make whatever they want. We're seeing that in obviously the motion capture industry, because you're able to access tools now that used to cost, 5 figures, 6 figures in some cases, to have access to. So now we have the option of things like the perception neuron from Noitom that you can bundle iClone with. And these tools have been developed in the last 5 years. This is my little trusty mocap lunchbox, I call it. But this is one perception neuron suit made by Noitom. And essentially, this is a plug-and-play sensor-based solution for inertia-based motion capture. So how I got into that was noticing these guys on Kickstarter. They were the highest and most successful, or highest ranked and most successful Kickstarter ever out of China. So that in itself had some pretty interesting merit behind it. But they also had partnered with Reallusion, and Reallusion has a CEO who is a real visionary in the field. And he noticed that this particular solution would be elegant for iClone, because it also has something that can, from time to time, cause animators a bit of a headache, and that is finger animation. And so the perception neuron actually has gloves in part of its 32 configuration for the neurons to go all the way down to the tips of the fingers. And so this is really nice, because as an animator by trade, if I can get good spinal movement and good hand movement, then part of my job is already done, essentially. So now being able to place this suit, which is basically straps and sensors, so no spandex included, you can literally slam this on people in production at any given point, whether that's in principal photography or if you're in your home studio like I am tonight, and just doing some regular animation work for character animation. Now, this is a price point of $1,500. This is something that is, recent as 10 years ago was complete black magic.
Oh, that was a question I was going to ask. Is it so it is pretty affordable then, really. If you're going to be doing a lot of animation, it's not out of the realms. It is going to actually save you money. Well, save you time, Absolutely. Which will save you money. But could you use like iClone or Reallusion software in in film production and stuff like that? Is that used today?
Absolutely. So in a variety of ways, actually, for the film that we just came off of, and a couple of other pretty interesting projects that we were involved in with some AAA talent, there were many different methods of mocap explored, both in the perception neuron